All right, everybody, good evening. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thanks for coming. Our town attorney is under the weather tonight, so he will not be joining us. We wish Paul the best. Changes to the agenda, I don't have any. Does anybody in council have any changes?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, presentation. We have Austin Addington, Boy Scout. He emailed me last month and asked to do this, so he is presenting his Eagle Scout project, I believe. So, Austin, it's all you.
Thank you. I gotta open this.
Yeah, take your time.
No pressure.
Ready yet?
Okay. My I'm not connected to Wi-Fi.
That's all right.
Well, no, he may need it for a presentation. The guest.
Download what? No, it just, I don't know why this is happening. Okay, let's see if that works. Nope.
Mike could get you connected to the guest, probably.
Yeah,
There you go.
no worries.
This one?
Yeah, your mother's maiden name.
My pin.
And while we're waiting for Mr. Addington to bring up the presentation, I'll just point out that I was a soccer coach when he was U8. He probably does not remember that.
I do remember you.
Oh.
I remember yes.
Okay, so congratulations. I'm proud of you. It has nothing to do with what I did.
Good job. You contributed. You were in the game.
Nope. That's what I'm saying.
Try it again.
Yeah, we'll get it sorted. Not the email system that's down at work, or the Teams that's not working, or Wi-Fi goes down.
Yay.
There we go. Okay. I think it's worked. There it is.
Hey.
Okay.
Good job.
Yay. This is a presentation on flag etiquette.
We go right over there.
This is a presentation on flag etiquette. The U.S. flag should always be in the front of a procession or parade. It's disrespectful in the back. A U.S. flag should always be flown at the same level as other flags of other nations. Wasn't the microphone. The U.S. flag should always be flown in the center and above flags of other states. And a U.S. flag should be displayed daily and especially on national holidays. Touching the ground is a no-no. Don't let the American flag touch the ground. It's very disrespectful. It went backwards. The U.S. flag should be displayed on the right side of the speaker, so if standing here, which is right. Good job. Good job, guys. And it should be displayed on the wall if it's just a flat thing and without a post. A picture to describe what I just said. To dispose of an American flag properly, they should be burned. Unless they're like nylon or something, then we usually, I think, incinerate them or bury them sometimes, but mostly burned. And I'm just going to read this one. Worn flags can be taken to an organization such as Veterans of Foreign Wars, American Legion, or Boy Scouts of America for proper retirement. So Boy Scouts of America is one of the only 3 things that you can respectfully, or that can respectfully retire an American flag. So don't do it yourself. And for local residents, you can now dispose of worn flags in the flag retirement boxes that I have. I have placed a flag retirement box at the Indialantic Fire Department, right at the entrance of where they leave. It's very visible, and it has no trash. It looks like a trash can, though. So don't throw trash away or recycle. Do recycle, just don't, not in there. And and flags will be collected and retired respectfully by our local Boy Scout troops of America every once or twice a month. Sorry, every 1 or 2 months. We will come and take the flags and we will retire them in a respectful manner. That is the box.
Yeah, it even says it on it.
Yeah. Just some people can't read.
Yeah, that's pretty
So-
apparent.
Don't
pretty clear.
recycle in there. There's an American flag on it. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So that's already there, right?
Yes, sir.
Mike,
Cool. Do you need any pictures or anything? I mean, it's up to you. Okay.
Yeah, come right around.
yeah, get in
Right
front.
up front.
Get up front. There you go. You gotta get the flag in the background, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have brochures if you guys want to look at these.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right.
Congratulations.
Public comment for non-agenda items. I got 3 over here. We'll start with Ms. Sherry Ledoux. And name and address, please.
My name is Sherry Ledoux. I live at 419 3rd Avenue. I first want to say I'm a very patient person. I don't believe I have ever asked to address a town or city council or school board, but I must speak to you this evening. I'm here to draw your attention to the building and outdoor activities at 420 4th Avenue. I've used the Brevard County Property Appraiser's website, the Indialantic Ordinance 2024-10 dealing with the regulation of noise, and the Indialantic Code of Ordinances relating to residential professional districts. The north side of the 400 block of 4th Avenue is in such a district. 420 4th Avenue consists of 2 offices. Shell Financial occupies Suite B, and CR Wellness occupies Suite A. A third business, Indie Yard, has recently opened at this property. The operator of CR Wellness has begun holding fitness classes and permitting unsupervised weight training in the backyard. Indie Yard's hours of operation are listed as 24 hours. As long as you are a member, you can enter the outdoor area through a locked gate and work out any hour of the day, any day of the week. There's frequently loud talking and music emanating from this area located directly behind my home. I've called the police to investigate this noise disturbance 3 times in the last 2 weeks. There are several code violations in addition to the noise that I need to make you aware of, but I won't address them all here tonight. But I do have a list of the specific sections of the Indialantic Code of Ordinances that I used. The first violation is the building itself. The Code of Ordinance states that the minimum area for any professional use shall be 1,000 square feet. The building at 420 4th Avenue consists of 2 suites. The total square footage of this building is 1,616 square feet. To me, this means that the building can only house one business. The code specifically states that a business in the residential professional zone shall not be detrimental, objectionable, or annoying to the owner or occupants of nearby property. The activities at Indy Yard are detrimental, objectionable, and annoying, and negatively affect the quality of life for me and my neighbors. The code also states that no noise or vibration shall be perceptible from any part of any residence district. I can hear the fitness classes from inside my home with the TV on. The code lists several types of businesses that can occupy office space in a residential professional zone. Nowhere in this list appears gym or fitness training inside or outside of a building. The reason is because this type of zone is, by definition, an area where professionals and residences must exist in harmony. Approximately 3 weeks ago, CR Wellness was made aware of two code violations in front of the property. The violations, one of which is allowing designated parking on the city easement, have not been addressed by the business owner. As late as this morning, cars were still parking on this easement. There are many other concerns and code violations both inside the building and out. I'm hoping that you will swiftly address this issue, and I'm certain upon inspection these violations will be observed and documented, and you will agree at a minimum that Indy Yard should not be permitted to continue operating. Thank you.
Hey, Mike, do you have any input on that?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. The building official has brought it to, and code enforcement has brought it to me. He's in a process of violating them, but we have to send to the code, we have to send him notice and a code board, so it's not a quick thing, and they basically exceed their, by putting the equipment in a backyard and stuff, they exceed their parking requirements, and they can't count that parking on the right-of-way or anything as their assigned parking. They have to actually, what they have. So he's aware there's a lot of violations there.
Okay.
What about the back, I'm her neighbor, what about her? So what about the
We'll need
backyard
your name and
itself?
address, sorry.
Oh, Kitty, 411 3rd Avenue, Indiana. So the backyard itself is also just one of the main things that is in
Correct.
violation. So are we looking into that
Yes.
part of it?
Yeah, that's, like I said, that exceeds what they have in parking and everything, so it would be illegal anyway. And if they put, like, we had another business try to put in a spa out back and stuff, and they couldn't do that because we told them on the same situation. We have to give them notice of violation, and then if they don't comply, we send it to the code enforcement board.
Well, everything in the backyard
Right.
is a violation.
But we don't have it would be up to the code enforcement board.
Okay, because there's a sauna, there's a fire pit, there's weights, there's a tent with a massage table, there's, the classes like she was saying, and people were just talking, and it is annoying, and it is not pleasant at all to listen to this.
Right.
I don't think anybody here would want this in their backyard, because it literally is in her backyard. And I am next to her, so I don't hear it as well as she does, but I still hear it.
Yeah. They did all this without a permit, too.
What's that?
They did it without a permit.
They did a lot, you can tell, I mean, that was
It
in my
doesn't, they didn't have a
notes,
permit
but
for it, so we weren't aware they were doing it until after it's done, that's why.
yeah, you have the awnings, the
Yeah.
pergolas are up there, those didn't get permitted. They have showers, 2 showers that they're claiming are, vitamin C.
Yeah.
Where is that running off into?
In.
There's so much stuff that.
So we're working with, not the owner of the business, because he's not being cooperative, but the owner of the property is the one that would be fined and cited and everything. So it's the property owner itself.
Okay, but just find, and are we going to have him move out that business? Because that's, the ordinance is not a gym, it's not a gym back there. That's a gym back there. That's not.
Right.
It would have to
any-
go through the legal process, and,
Is
Pa-
there-
Paul's
okay.
not here to
Okay.
talk about that, and
It's
Mike
gotta,
might
yeah.
know more, but.
Everybody has, it's a process we have to do. It's a semi-judicial thing, quasi-judicial, actually. And the code board would be the appropriate people that we would send it to from here if they didn't come into compliance.
Okay, and we've been instructed to call the police if the noise is annoying us.
Yeah,
I haven't called except the other night I just called, and it was annoying me.
That's no problem, yeah, if
But
there's a
they
noise
didn't-
complaint,
they
call the
didn't
police.
go in- They didn't go back there. They didn't hear it in the front, so they just didn't go back there. If you go in the backyard and it's in your face,
Yeah.
then it's very annoying and very
So,
know.
Mike,
Lieutenant Weber's available,
yeah, Mike, or-
They did go this
Lieutenant.
morning in the backyard with Sherry and said they weren't within the violation of the noise ordinance at the time.
Yeah.
But it's still annoying, and that's the whole
So
thing.
we're working
When
on
he
it,
went-
even-
when I went, I actually went to there before he opened, and I wanted to see what was going on, because I thought somebody was just sprucing up their lawn, the backyard. And then I saw all the weights go up, so I went back there and told him, and I basically said, if we'd known this was going in, this would have been stopped a long time ago, but I did not know. And then, I won't even go into the whole thing, he came to my house and said absurd things to me,
yeah.
and made bad gestures. So I am not happy for the whole thing, and I don't want to make it personal, but that is something that
Yeah,
he
they
needs
got
to
violations out front too, with improper banners and signage and stuff.
yes.
So they're being addressed, but it's not quick,
Like how-
unfortunately.
Do we have a timeline on something that, like this might happen?
I mean,
so it's notice, then they get a time, right? 3 to 4,
Yeah, we
3 to
give
4
like-
weeks, and then it goes to code enforcement, in which they then then there's another number of notices posted. What I would say, though, is, Mike, can you work with Lieutenant Weber or Chief Connor to see if we can address the situation so there's no noise disturbances that are annoying after the sun goes down, or
And I'll
before
give
the sun
Cliff
comes
his
up?
back tomorrow, he was out for a couple days, but we talked about it last Friday and everything, so we're supposed to be meeting with the owner of the property.
Right.
But we are in agreement, everybody's in agreement that this is
It's
a professional building, and a gym does not belong in the backyard of a professional building, butted up against residents.
So I believe we're all in agreement that there are violations. I haven't read the code and looked
Okay, well,
explicitly
I
at
got
it, but
it right
it
here.
certainly seems based on the readings and information presented, that is the case, and we need to
Jump on it.
But we have to
Sorry.
follow everything.
enforce
I agree. I just want to
aggressively.
make sure that everybody's aware, because we've had everybody down the street, and this whole street is zoned professional, not just behind her house. The whole street is zoned that. So that, something like that comes in, everybody else thinks they can do it, and that's not what our town is about. I'm sorry.
okay,
It's a quiet little town.
Yep.
I want to keep it that way.
thank you. Pam? Yeah,
What,
we'll do Pam, and then we'll go back to it.
Wait to be recognized.
Pam Dunn, 330 Tampa Avenue, Indy Atlantic. First, I want to, on behalf of the Garden Club, I want to thank everybody that came to the Veterans Day event. It was so meaningful, and I want to especially thank Joe and his staff for helping us getting the park look just perfect, and the police department for assisting in the parking situation. Second, I'm wearing my other hat today. Sunday from 2 to 4, the Heritage Committee is having a panel. It's going to be living in Indy Atlantic in the 60s and 70s. So it should be really, really fun. It's a panel, and they're all judges. Don't know how that happened, and I hope nobody here has been in front of any of the judges, because then it could really get out of hand.
Brett?
But anyway, here, Town Hall, 2 to 4, and I welcome everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Gabrielle? Agenda item, okay. Sir? Name and address, please.
Thank you.
Sure.
My name's Brian McCartney. I live at 431 Third. I'm the other side of Sherry from Kitty. And not to retract the same ground, I realize you guys are aware of a bunch of the problems. I made a list of the things that I'm aware of from my side of the property, which I'd be happy to share with you if it would be helpful.
Sure.
And these are just questions. I don't know the answers, but they're questions as it pertains to code. And the one thing I wanted to point out that is pretty much a major concern of mine. I realize there's a process. I realize it takes time. In the, what would be of their property, in the northwest corner, there is a sauna, which is, I think, irresponsibly been deemed a temporary facility. My concern with that building is that I can see an electric cord running in, what appears to be an electric cord running into the back of it. I would bet that it has not been inspected. If there's a fire because of an inappropriate electrical connection in the back corner of that building, I'm not sure I'm willing to say that following the process of a month or two working through this is something that you do in your own home or your neighbor's backyard, or I think that single issue, this isn't an annoyance issue, and I fully support these other neighbors in terms of the annoyance. But I think that this uninspected electrical, and I'm assuming it's electrical, it looks like an electric cord. I see where it terminates, I don't know where it goes to, but I'm betting it hadn't been inspected, and I think that is a danger that requires more immediate attention than perhaps the noise issue or some of the signage or some of those other issues require.
So, Mike, we do have a little more leeway, right, if it's deemed a safety issue. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can see that, I gotta check and see if the fire department's been out there, I don't know.
Okay.
They put in a BTI, or
GFI?
BTR.
Oh.
So if they put in a request for, then it would automatically trigger a fire department inspection. So I'm not sure that even been done, and that's one of the other issues we're addressing.
I have no idea. I just look over my fence into the back of that building, and there's a cord about that big around running into the back of that building that disappears into their property someplace. And based on the history that we have, short history, but the history you have of lack of inspections, I'm not sure that isn't a hazard that should be investigated sooner than later.
I can ask the building official tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. Any other non-agenda comments? Anyone? All right, moving on. Public announcements. There are openings on the following boards and committees: Budget and Finance, Civil Service, Code Enforcement, Heritage Committee, and Pension Board for general employees. Sharing Indiana Memories, hosted by the Heritage Committee, as Pam mentioned, is November 17th from 2 to 4 here at Town Hall. The annual Christmas tree lighting celebration, Thursday, December 5th at 6 p.m. Are we doing a movie in the park? Parish doing a movie in the park? Okay. Forget I ever said it. Town Hall will be closed Thanksgiving, November 28th and 29th. And Council Member-elect John Brady, in the back there, and Carrie Foy will be sworn in at the beginning of December 11th, Town Council. Consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I'd like to poll, Mr. Mayor, B5, please.
B5. All right, and I am going to pull, wait, okay, you said B5. Okay, I'm going to pull B3, D, and F.
I move the consent agenda be approved minus B5 and the two items that you polled.
3, D, and F. All right, is there a second?
I'll second the consent agenda, minus 3D and F and B5.
All right, all those in favor of approving as per that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. I'll make it quick. 3D, that is, not coincidentally, shares my last name. She resigned, and so to give way to other people that had an interest in joining the committee, so she asked not to be renewed. And then in the packet, we have 3F, Ms. Nadu. There's a little write-up, I guess, with attendance. They like her participation, but because she is a snowbird, it throws the quorum off, and just sitting in the room with Becky trying to get a quorum is pretty hard for that committee. So they would like her to be removed and replaced with one of the other two people on the wait list. So I will move to do both of those. Is there a second?
I will second.
Discussion?
So is Ms. Nadu aware of,
I have no idea.
okay. And there are two alternates in the waiting for
Yes.
Parks and Rec and beautification.
One, I don't know if one has filled out the form. She may have, but she showed up assuming she was on the committee. She didn't realize there was this whole process. So she's interested.
Ms. Nadeau here tonight?
No. I don't think they're back yet.
Okay. So if we do want to reappoint, obviously she has the opportunity to reapply and come before the town council at the next meeting. Okay. Okay. I'm fine with withdrawing B, 3D, and 3F.
Did we second it?
Stu seconded it.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any other discussion.
It's open for discussion.
Right. Right, you got anything?
No. We're not going to be short with, you said Becky withdrew because there was other interest.
Yeah.
Now that Joanne's being booted.
Yeah, no, there's two people. One, Elizabeth, I don't know her name, but she's been attending.
Yeah, she lives on my street. Yeah, she's very interested.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And
I
then-
guess between now and next council, with 2 less members, will they be able to achieve quorum if they have a meeting in the month of November?
I don't know how that works.
Well, they'll have to have quorum for how many are appointed. So yes, they have to have a quorum, but it shouldn't affect it.
It's just the quorum of what the numbers that are on the board, not a set quantity.
It's a full membership, yeah, what's on the
So
board.
if there's only,
They'll have enough
okay.
if they even show up.
If there's only
It's not
3,
like-
they need 2,
I
yeah.
think there's 8, 9, something like that on that board.
Only 1 month.
I think there's 10. This leaves 8. There's 2 more that will come in.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
Public discussion or public comment? Yeah, just need your name and address.
Justin Luke, 109 Michigan Avenue. If you need someone else for Parks and Rec, my wife was
She's one of the ones.
Ashley
Yeah,
Luke.
yeah.
Yeah. So she's on her 2 C and D, but she'd like to do Parks and Rec as well.
Okay, yeah, she'll have to apply for that and then.
Yeah, she put the application in.
Okay,
Yep.
yep.
I think Molly, you have it, right?
Yep, I believe that there's 2 people ahead of her,
Okay,
I think.
no problem.
All right, thank you.
He volunteered his wife, you notice that?
Well, she was the one.
He's advocating.
Technically, she did turn in an application, or at least he turned it in for her.
Any other public comment? Nope. All right, all those in favor of removing B3D and 3F from the consent agenda, or from reappointment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On B5, I just had a few questions. One of them, and maybe it's best directed at Mike, or maybe you know, Mr. Mayor. What were the dollar amounts brought into the town's coffers from lobbying efforts in the previous 12 months?
I don't have that answer.
I'm not aware of any at this point.
Okay. And what other tangible sort of value was created by the lobbyist over that time period?
Not really. We had such a transition in lobbyists between Jason having to leave and then Mike Herodopoulos and stuff. So we really didn't have any projects. I know I've spoken with Jason about some projects, and I know the mayor has. For example, the pier and things that are shovel-ready right now, and trying to get funding for those.
Okay, do we have an estimated dollar amount that we're looking to bring in, or we're thinking of asking the lobbyist to do in the next 12 months?
Yeah.
And what would that estimate be?
Well, at least for the pier, it'd be $250,000 roughly.
Okay.
And hopefully partially, we do have money to fund it, but we have a matching grant money right now. So we can have that, and I know, I think the mayor can answer, he's been talking about getting money for the boardwalk area.
Yeah.
And are you looking both for those as appropriations, or are you looking at them as grants?
I would look at both,
Okay, but what will our lobbyists focus on?
the appropriations.
Also for the pier?
For the pier too, because sometimes those appropriations we found out with the Mikey Goodwin Playground turn into grants. The centers were able to get appropriations passed into the grant program.
And if I may, the half of the pier will also be fined,
Yeah,
which is Florida Inland Navigation District. It's a
Florida
tax we all pay.
and land navigation.
Yeah,
That's great that we're exploring the funding. It's something I've advocated.
haven't quite finished yet.
Sorry, Stu.
However, that's a process we have to apply, and it does take somebody to actually appear before the board and go through the justification process. So I would hope and expect Mr. Steele to do the same. There's a lot of money there. They actually walk away every year with money left in the coffers. They go back to the general fund. So they're very interested in giving the money out and any projects that benefit navigation on the lagoon. Additionally, Jason's extremely good with the legislature for lobbying for the town. I've seen him in action. He and I have been texting while he's been there. I've been there with him. He knows what he's doing. He's a former representative, and he literally knows every player. So that's equally important to fundraising. Especially if you want to block things like vacation rentals, which he was quite good at. And sovereign immunity will come up again. I forget what the other ones are, but a lot of them are coming back to haunt. They always do.
Yeah, I'm not questioning Mr. Steele's qualifications. I know him well and have communicated. The issue is our lobbyist worth the money that we're doing, given when we don't show up with projects for him? Remember Mr. Herodopoulos, who I think you'd argue, Stu, is equally connected, if not even more, when he presented to us. He sat, I'm speaking, he sat and said that bringing things forward at the design, planning, or implementation phase, and that was an important thing that we didn't take advantage of last time. Any other expected utilization of the lobbyist? That's good to hear. We have 2 items. Are there any other things in the next 12 months that were expected for the value created for the money that is going to be spent?
Well, we're looking at replacing the bathrooms. I'm not sure it's going to be in the next 12 months as we come up with funding, but that's about $500,000 or $600,000. And that's, I'm hoping to get some funding for that too,
Has,
at Nance Park.
I know previously with Mr. Herodopoulos, he wasn't charging, even though the contract was for $1,000 a month or whatever. Have we been paying or no?
And we've been paying every month. We
Oh, okay.
Smith and Associates bills us every month.
Oh, okay.
$1,000.
I thought I had heard that Mike wasn't billing us, so.
No.
And I was signing checks that went nowhere.
So yes.
It's a reasonable cost, given the size of our town and what lobbying efforts do, is my belief. But at the same time, you know that I'm asking the questions related to generation of value. It's stewardship of taxpayer money to make sure that we're getting back what we're paying in, right? The worst thing is the subscription you find on your credit card that you go, man, I've been paying in for that thing and I'm not really utilizing it, and I'm trying to understand before we pass this what the utilization will be. And it looks like we've got some things that we're stepping up for appropriations, which I think is an excellent choice to go get funds. I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so at least we're going to swing. And I recognize we'll have money we're going to have to put in. Appropriations aren't free money. It's usually against a match. So I just wanted to understand what was being looked at for the use of the tool, so to speak. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve B5.
Second?
All second?
All those, or public comment? All those in favor of approving Jason Steele to resume being the town lobbyist, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, unanimous. All right, we have no public hearing or ordinances. Unfinished business, the median. Everybody likes to talk about the median. Susan is here.
She's here.
Yes. So, State Road 500, also known as US 192, Fifth Avenue, whatever. Median project, results, we put out a bid, and the results are $400,000 or $518,000. Mike, what do you have?
So, yeah, we went out to bid again, of course, with all the inflation and everything, these numbers came in a lot higher than we expected. So we had a bid of a little over 500,000, which the, from Arizona Brothers, which was a little bit less last time, but not much, maybe like $10,000 less than they bid last time, for $518,170. And then Fisher & Fisher Landscaping came in at $400,315, which is more than we expected originally, better than the other ones' numbers. And on top of that, remember too, because the FDOT is making us have an inspector out there through our town engineer, which is we have about an additional other $100,000 worth of costs we're gonna have to cover too, because of the way they set things up, which I can't understand, or Scott doesn't understand either, why instead of inspecting once, but we have to have somebody staying out there the whole time work's being done. So, just if we want to move
And
forward.
we bear the cost of that?
About $100,000.
Okay, FDOT's not kicking in anything towards that. They're
they only paid-
mandating it and burdening us with the cost.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
They only paid for the plant itself as part of the grant, so, if the plants were less than, or more, we'd cover the extra cost. If it was less, they give us less money.
So rough numbers, we have 352 contribute,
Yeah,
and 100 of that has to be for the inspection or inspectors, whatever.
yeah.
All right. Now I know some people have mentioned just scrapping the whole idea. I don't know what you guys think, and coming up with a much simpler design, such as a few trees and some pavers that will free up the clutter on Fifth Avenue, and maybe we'll be spending the same amount of money, but we'll get something more along the lines of what we want, and we won't be spending all this extra money on something we don't want. So,
Could we ask Mrs. Hall to give us,
Sure.
give us some professional thoughts? And just in background, we've been doing 7 years, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested.
It's not our
too,
choice
Stu.
to go
What,
quite
what are the thoughts on this?
2018, I think, we first started this.
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, Susan Hall, landscape architect, Merritt Island. Well, yeah, the bids came in. Our latest cost opinion was $428,000. That was taking into account the inflation. The low bid that came in was $400,315. So, because this is under a grant arrangement, FDOT covers the plants and the mulch and the soils. They do not cover the irrigation costs. They do not cover any paving costs, any pavers of any kind, now or later. And they do require the engineer be on the premises during the work. So the grant came in, the grant amount is $253,000, okay? It came in, the plant materials were about $34,000 more than that. So that puts us at around $287. And then the incidentals, which they do cover 15% of that, FDOT will, they were at 209. So $209,000. So just a little background, if we talk about this process that brought us here today. We began back in 2018. We started with focus groups. We heard from the Environmental Committee, we heard from the Parks Committee, and then we heard from the general public and went through several iterations with them, including a variance with FDOT, and this is where we are today. So I got word today that you all are thinking about pivoting and going to something with, I believe, less maintenance. And so I'm here tonight to listen to your conversation.
Oh, go ahead.
Can we go back for just a few years?
Mm-hmm.
And could you give a summary of how you came up with the design? Because I think it's very important.
I do too. The town wanted to have full public input, and the public did give us their input, and the committees did. Like I said, environmental and park, and people were very passionate about their input. And I think that the council really found itself at a crossroads when the inflation period kicked in, and all of a sudden things were costing much more than they had initially cost. So the discussion really began to focus around whether or not we would keep the palms that are there now, or if we would replace them with fewer new palms. And after a lot of back and forth, including to apply for a variance to the FDOT, the council voted to maintain the existing palms and just do the planting down below in the medians. So
That was
is
4-1, I'd like to
where
point
we
out.
are today.
It was a 4-1 vote. I didn't want to keep those trees.
But that was also after considerable public input on the trees. There were two sides quite passionate
And they-
about two different options, and one side convinced overall. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
and- Yeah, they were, both sides were very passionate. It was about a 50-50 split, and it took some time to get to that decision, so.
And if I may, it's also, was a huge cost, with the inflationary actions, it was a huge cost difference.
It was huge, yeah,
I mean, almost doubling the cost of the project, as I remember.
yes. And I'm sure we weren't the only ones with a grant that were caught in that
Remember, this
situation.
quote came in without any of those, the original number we're giving you, the 253,000 included palm trees.
Yeah.
And this, so they show you that it has no palm trees in it, just the plants itself,
Right.
how much inflation has been.
Would you be able to ballpark, not ballpark, but for the 350 that we have, can we do the 10 trees or what, 12 trees, whatever it was, and pavers, and then some small shrubs below those trees and call it a day?
Unlikely. Unlikely. I would have to run numbers before I can answer you on that because it's all based on quantities and square footages. So,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question or two? I want to make sure, Susan, I understand the numbers. I'm not quite clear. We've said a bunch. 350 is what's allocated, correct? 100,000 out for engineer requirement. To me, in my mind, that leaves 250 to solve the problem. Is that accurate?
yeah.
Okay, great. That helps focus me on what's in the coffers as we're going to be talking. Thank you.
Originally, what we had was $250,000. I put more money in reserves last year, knowing the increase in cost.
Yeah,
So,
I think you put
I
an extra
understand.
50
Yep.
in, maybe?
Pardon?
Maybe, how much more did you put in? You put in quite a bit more.
Yeah, put like 100,000, I think 120,000 more.
Okay. Yeah, and regardless of what you end up doing in the medians, there are certain requirements that FDOT has. I'll call them the non-grant.
The design manual.
Yeah, so no matter what happens, the town is on the hook for that amount of money.
So we've got two bids well in excess of the 250, and that's why we're now looking at alternative options.
Well, some of the grant would cover these bids.
Yeah, the grant.
grant would cover some
The grant
of
is
these.
253,000.
Okay, so,
Can
Okay.
can we, so just be clear, we have 2 in grant money, plus the 100K for the labor that's not value
So I'll
added.
call it 353.
Yeah, 353 minus 100 to 253. What else do we, well, you mentioned a number, Mike. What else do we have above the money in the grant that is in the budget for the fiscal year?
But the only thing we'd have is this isn't including irrigation, I don't believe.
It does not.
Yeah, is the irrigation, and we were,
No, I meant above the 353, that's a grant, regardless of what's in the quote, ignoring the quote.
Yeah.
What additional monies do we have in the budget for this project?
What did you put aside that you said?
I put in 370 that we have there, but there's not money for, that's to pay for everything.
So,
So an additional 20?
so it's
Yeah, so we have-
$20,000 on top of the
I'm
350.
glad you're asking these questions.
Okay, so
We
it's
would
not
have
another
to have-
$100,000, it's 353, 373 all in.
Plus the grant money, so,
Well, no, that's,
Hang on,
hold on,
let's-
now you're
yeah.
confusing me there.
Yes.
oh,
Yeah,
Me too.
break
So
it-
there's the grant money, which is 353, then what is the town
No,
bringing to the
The
table?
grant money is 253.
253.
Okay, thank you. So grant money's 253, and
We
the
have-
town has,
370,
plus the grant money?
yes.
Yes.
So 250 plus 370?
So you have 623.
370 minus 250, 253, correct?
Yeah.
Let's
Okay, so
let's
that's
run this all,
117.
let's run
I'm
it all back
following.
again.
I
No,
wanna
I know,
know the
I know,
number.
I'm gonna build it back up again, so we have
It says
350.
117.
No, so what's in the, let me try it another way. What's in the budget?
370 we have.
370, and that is separate from the 353 that's in the grant?
253.
253.
Plus 253.
I'm asking these questions
Yeah.
trickily because I want to
That
make
is
sure I'm getting the
separate.
right
We're not
answer.
counting the
All
grant.
right, so,
So 623.
so 253, which is in the grant, plus what we have in the budget, which is
70.
370.
You
That's
have
620.
623.
623.
So we have a total budget, all in, of $623,000.
But then right off the top, you have to do 100 for the engineer.
Understand?
So that
No, no, I'm
puts,
just trying to get.
Good.
That's
No, no, Let's
correct.
go down the road.
So that
So we're at
takes you to
523 for
523.
what we actually need to do project-wise.
So
Right.
I did,
That's what we have to play with.
I did-
523 for the project. Are we all clear?
right, but the grant is for plants only, and it only goes to,
Correct.
which, some quick math is 190 in plants. That doesn't include labor, right? For the
Oh, it
plant?
does,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
disregard.
As far as, if you look at the low bid, the $400,000 bid, the plant
Plants are more.
materials
So 333.
were, let me, hold on, I'll add it up.
Looks like 333,000. Let's make sure someone cross-checks that.
287,000 was the bid for the plant materials installed. That's, and the grant covers 253,000 of that.
Okay, so,
So you're 34,000
In the hole.
above the grant. The delta on that, that takes you up to the four, or the.
yeah, 400.
Yeah, that is never covered by the grant. It's
Right.
always been covered by the town,
We just has the out-of-pocket amount.
so,
Would you mind reminding us what the plant materials consist of?
sure.
Thank you.
We have Ilex shillings. We have, well, here, I've got right here.
Asiatic jasmine,
jasmine. And then as the mid-level plant material,
spider lily.
we have spider lily.
So could we do like a two-tier type situation?
It's three-tier.
No, but could we do a two-tier and it would still look okay? Maybe save us money? Just spitballing, I'm not.
Hold on, let's,
I can't go there yet
Okay.
because this has been approved by FDOT.
Right, we can't make any
and
significant
they're-
modifications.
We've been back and forth to them on a number of occasions.
Right.
And it
Right.
would require another
So if we
trip. And
go,
we're in the midst of the bid process now.
which means we cannot easily alter. You'd have to alter the design, go back to FDOT, go through that whole rigmarole, and then go out to bid again.
It would be a very lengthy
Yep,
process.
Okay, just want on the record that we know
So in other words, it's.
we don't have a lot of
Pony up
wiggle
and
room
find
is
the
what I'm
money.
hearing.
And we would lose the grant. Is that correct? Or it's possible to keep it?
Mike and I put a call into FDOT today to see about that, and we did not hear back from them. I don't know. I've not come across this before. It usually has been a straight line of events, and we've been kind of all over. So,
Yes.
yeah, we'd have to ask them.
so,
If I may,
I'm going to take us down.
you started with us on this project about 2017, as I remember,
18.
18, okay. Of course, as a billable fee. So
It
did
was
Scott,
it was a
as
fixed,
billable fees.
it was a fixed fee.
Right, but I mean, still, if we try to figure the cost of the project all in, it's even higher than the number we're looking at right now because we've already invested a good bit of money.
It's
And
sunk
a
cost, too.
tremendous amount of Mike's time.
It's sunk cost, so we can only look at what's in front of us.
The
I
question
agree.
is, it's $1 million project.
It's sunk
I mean,
cost.
that's the net of it. Is that what we want to spend on this?
It's sunk cost, that's behind us, we can't undo that. We have what's in front of us, what's in the budget, and what's been bid. And it's either we accept this project, in my mind, or we throw it all away and start over. And if we throw it all away and start over, none of us are being, I'm maybe being a little bit petulant, but we're gonna, if we decide not to go forward with this, then we need to have the view that this is a complete reset,
Correct.
Exactly.
which is not a 6-month, not a 12-month, not an 18-month turnaround.
Probably closer to 3 years.
Thank you.
And you're sure, let's make sure for the record, there's no other wiggle option.
Such as?
I don't know, you're the expert, I just want to make sure. When someone says, hey, you didn't consider, you didn't ask Susan, it looks like what Doug said is correct. We really do have two options on the table.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, thank you.
Because we are well into this permit, and we have gone to bid. We've been issued, shortly will be issued a notice to proceed next month. And if the council decides not to go forward with this, I think what will happen is the grant will probably just be not used. And there'll be some paperwork involved there too with the state.
So what I would like to do is to engage in some public math which is very dangerous. But I'm going to rely on somebody to my left, hopefully here with a spreadsheet to help out. But the ultimate goal here, because the line items for these two quotes, while the Fisher Landscaping is the top line or bottom line, 100,000 cheaper, the plants are significantly more.
I'm
Now,
sure-
I don't know which one's better value for us when you run the numbers on what the ground cover and won't. I'm suspecting it's still Fisher's, but
Well, if you look at the way do you have the itemized bids in front of you? Because at the bottom are the incidentals.
Right.
And those are the items that are not.
Right.
Only 15% of those are covered by FDOT.
right. And that's where
So-
$100,000 of the difference really lies between the two, if you do kind of look.
Right.
I looked at it last night.
And when these bidders bid, they bid with a strategy in
They
mind.
know, yeah. So what I would like to achieve is an understanding of what the town would be on the hook for ideally both of these, given what we understand the budget to be, the total budget for the project to be.
I agree with
Plus the reimbursables for the grants.
Looking at the math, like the one $500 and some $1,000 one, they only had 217s on landscape things.
So before we start throwing numbers around, I'd like to, just, because it's hard enough for me to follow, because I don't have it in an Excel format, and that's my fault. But just to recap, we have the grant is 253, the budget is 370. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. It's public math.
Actually, what I would tell you to do is add up the two bottom sections on each bid has a bottom section, add that up, and whoever has the lower.
Right. So let me just finish real
amount
quick. I want to make
would
sure that, again,
be
we agree on
less of a burden to
on
the city.
funds available to us, we'll put it that way. So we have 253 plus 370. Now, the 100K that's payable to FDOT, that's money out of our budget or money out of the grant?
Our budget.
Okay, so the 253 is still available, and then we have 270. So,
70.
well, 370 minus 100. So I'm just saying what's available to pay the invoice for the entities here. So,
I did some quick math, just adding up, and that would give us, between what we have in the grant would give us 623,000. And then you take that minus 400, we have 223,200, and then, or just 223,000. Take 100,000 off of it, we have 123,000 left. That would
see, Mike,
cover-
I'm having a hard time following you. Maybe it makes sense to you, because I've been on the other side of these type of discussions, and I understand it. When you have the forest for your trees.
We should put maybe together an Excel sheet for you all to look at, so it's clean and clear.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we need to make a decision tonight,
Okay.
is the short answer. So we've got the 370, the 235. The grant's 253, right?
Correct.
Oops, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So we have the 253, and then we have the minus 100K, so that gives us this 523, yeah. Of which 253 is the grant, and the grant will pay the cost for the plants plus 15% of the
non-grant items,
of the
yes.
non-grant item, which is the bottom
Correct.
tally. So for Fisher Landscape, the grant eligible comes up, the 100% grant eligible total line items. come
His
up to what?
bid for the plant materials was 287,000,
So
and 253 of that is covered by the grant.
Okay, so they had, well, I'm just gonna,
Fisher, what have we got?
so you said 283?
I have one question here.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Steve.
Stu.
We have the one-year establishment period that, looks
FDOT
like,
requires.
is that, I know it's required, but I mean, who covers that? Is it an FDOT covered, or do we?
The town.
So that one is 48,600 on the one estimate. I think it was a little bit, it was close to 90,000 on the other, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah, you have two companies of two different sizes. Arizona travels statewide,
Of that. So
and
that-
Fisher is a local contractor.
Now, I have one other question, because it's important in this. What would you estimate to be the number of people hours to maintain the plants once it's done. This is quite important with head count. Our Public Works Department is fairly small, and they're not arborists by any means. So what's your estimate as to hours?
You know, I can't answer that off the top of my head, but I can certainly get you the answer on that. I mean, both the bidders would be able to tell us that. They probably allot so many man-hours per week for 52 weeks. So I suppose we could start by dividing it by 52 and come up with a weekly amount.
If we were going to account for that factor at this point, we would have to scrap the whole thing, right?
I don't know.
I'm not saying it's a factor we shouldn't account for, but maybe it was prior to this point, I don't know.
Well, the point of the establishment period is to get everything in, established, growing together, growing well, the weeds, so they grow together so you don't have as much of a weed issue. Some things like cigarette butts and trash, that doesn't end, unfortunately. So FDOT does require that establishment period for that reason. And then at the end of the establishment period, they put a fresh layer of mulch on everything. So it includes all the man-hours, equipment, insurance, workman's comp, all of that.
Joe, do you have an opinion?
I know Joe has an opinion.
Yes and no. On this situation, I'd rather see where there's no maintenance for us because we don't have enough personnel just to do what we're doing. I would think, and I know it's out of the question, a paver all the way through with right around each palm tree. And to be honest, I'm going to be 100% honest, the Washingtonians should have went. I don't know why we kept them, but we did. We should have went with 10 or 12 trees, palm trees, whether it been a foxtail palm, not a date palm because the spikes are too friggin' long. Self-cleaning, something that won't get any higher than 30 feet. And we're too late for that. So it is what it will be, and we'll have to manage.
Do you have an opinion or preference between these two contractors from experience?
I know them both. I've worked with them both on FDOT work. And FDOT is the protocol is so clearly laid out that there's no gray area. So, and being a public bid, the town would be obligated to go with the low bid.
Right.
And I would have no problem with that at all.
I think unless you can justify, right, quality of performance or service or other
Yeah, if there
extrinsic
was
factors.
something in the bid
Right.
documents.
So that's kind of
that
what I'm
they-
getting at.
Yeah, if the bid documents were incomplete or they couldn't meet the basic criteria for bidding, then yeah, it would go to the next bidder.
May I ask something?
Our answer.
Susan, I saw in the agenda, the packet, there are qualification documents. Both vendors have the necessary qualifications to do the work.
Yes,
I did
they
see
do.
some of the other ones saying we were awarded certain things, okay.
Yeah,
And is the contract itself in there, or is that something that comes later on? I always ask related to, is there assignment of risk to the town, right? The indemnification clause and those things. Does that come later, or is that in there?
I think there were samples in the bid packet for that. I think it's required.
So
Yeah.
were there any significant risk factors shifted to the town from the two vendors, right? I always look for open cap indemnification. Did Paul get a chance to do a read or not?
Yeah, Paul read the stuff when we were doing it. It's been a couple of years going through it, but Paul has read it.
Yeah.
And what was the determination on assumption of risk on the town?
He'd cleaned some language up and stuff in it,
Right, I remember that.
yeah. So he
Yeah,
was
and a
okay
good question, good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gave it to us with its language that he thought was better for us.
Okay, and we're in negotiations over that language to make sure the town doesn't accept any more risk than we need to.
Well, it'd be it's already, the contract is part of the bid package, so we'd
Okay, got it. So it already has the appropriate language?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
all right, so we were doing some numbers here. I'm gonna do, I still want to get to the ground truth of the numbers, because that's ultimately that matters with this money, and then we can make a informed decision on whether we want to move forward with it Unfortunately, we have to keep the meeting up as it is today, so I'm not a plant guy. Is it what we have today versus what we're looking to put in, more or less, or about the same level of maintenance? That's an unfair question to ask, but.
I don't know, Joe. You might have a little less trimming because you have all those ilex out there now. We are using ilex because they're native and salt tolerant and drought tolerant, but we don't have as many ilex. So I think establishing a new landscape that first year is critical. So I think having that maintenance establishment period is a critical thing, and that's why FDOT does require that.
Okay. So what I want to do here is for the second bid, because they're underneath the grant money that is provided, so they're at 217,595 versus the grant's 252. So that leaves us about $35,000 that can come off of the non, I don't know what the right term is, but the non-landscape. Non-grant
items.
fund. So that 35K comes off of the 300,000. That puts us about 265. Our budget, less the 100K, is 270. So the second bid, even though it, on the bottom line appears to be more because of the way they've got it structured.
So who has on?
But I gotta run the math to make sure I'm not.
Numbers do you want on here?
So the 217,595, so that comes off the grant, which is the 253. So that leaves grant money available.
Okay, so you want this, you want
Whatever's the remainder of that.
that minus the grant.
Right.
Grants pay 253, so you got a positive 35,000.
And then that minus, or plus that.
This here?
Mm-hmm.
Whoops.
Well, and it's the 300K, that's the non-landscape, up to 15% is eligible?
No, the 253 includes that 15%.
No, I understand, but
Okay.
the 253, but if I have money left over from the 253, that money can be applied to up to 15% of the non-landscape expenses?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
And none of those line items are exempt, like the warranty, for example?
None of those are exempt, I'm sorry to say,
So if you
yeah.
want me to subtract, that's the total minus the carryover.
So for the 253, just give me the 15% real quick, but I think it's around 35K,
You want this times,
because I think these guys know how to play the game. So that's what that's the maximum rebate, 37,950 they could get, that would be eligible. They've left themselves 35,405 underneath the grant, so they're aware of what I'm assuming they're smart. So there's 37,995, so that 35,405 leftover could be applied in its maximum amount to the 300K, which gives you 265.
So while you guys are
Which-
doing
Which
whatever you're
matches,
doing.
which I believe matches the
so
budget we
you
have.
drive the discussion.
So,
I believe matches the 270 we would have left in our budget after we minus this 100K. So in fact, I believe, the Arosa, I can't pronounce their name,
Arizosa,
Arizosa, thank you,
just so we're.
bid is actually in budget.
So the grant money will cover all plants, soil, and labor, and mulch.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that section down below, FDOT will they will pay for 15% of that section below.
Right.
So the grant, that number that I'm giving you of 253 was our estimate,
Mm-hmm.
plus 15% of our estimate for the miscellaneous down below. So the actual grant, I want to say, the actual grant was
So let me just, I'm gonna do the thing that Mike was doing, which is I'm gonna talk numbers without having anything to reference to.
238? I have it.
So the landscaping quote from Arizosa is 217,595. Out of the grant money of 253, that leaves you a balance of $34,500, $405.
the grant money was 253.
Yeah, so 253 minus 217, 595, leaves you a balance of, round numbers, $35,000.
To do
So all the plants in the top, in the landscape section are covered by the grant. You have a balance left over of $35,000 that we could apply to the non-landscape. Yes? As long as it's less than 15%. Right, which 15% of the bottom line at 300,576 is 37,950. So 37,950, sorry, I'm talking fast, is more than the $34,000, or $35,000, excuse me. So therefore,
Yeah.
the landscaping completely covered by the grant, the $300,575 would be less 35, and maybe it's slightly more than this if I understood you correctly earlier, but for the purposes of this discussion, it's less $35,405 because that's what was left over, 253 to 217. So 575 less 35,405 leaves a balance due from the town of $265,170. And in our line item budget is $370K, less $100,000 for somebody to monitor the project is $270K. $270K is more than $265K, so that bid is actually cheaper for our town than the Fisher landscape, if I did the math correctly. If we did the math correctly.
The actual grant amount, before we added the 15% of our estimated incidentals to it, was $226,095.
Okay. So let's go back on that, because if we can apply 15% above, does that mean that if I have a total for Fisher Landscape in the landscape items that is above the 253?
So Fisher bid in his plant materials, $287,000.
Right.
So he is, let's see.
Yeah, that's the 283 right there.
26. He is 61,000 above the grant
Right.
amount.
But if I spend the 253, we still get 15% against the non-landscape items on top of the 253?
No, the total is 253.
Total is
It's
253.
226
Can we cap out at
plus.
253? Got
Yes.
it, okay.
Yeah.
Fisher's more expensive, even though it looks less expensive. I'm not sure how that math works, but
I've never seen 518 be less than 400. I mean, I'm not questioning you because
we can run it again.
You lost me 20 minutes ago, so I have no.
Well,
This is the math that needs to be in the packet, because you need to be able to say, when you apply these complicated things, this is the amount out. I look for out of my pocket, right? And I think the same as the town. We got to be careful about what comes out of the pocket. And I got it. The numbers are different, but again, you can apply different things based on how they bid, on which line items, right? So that's where you got to do the math.
The question is, though, that the bid is put in as a lump sum. So the low bid was the $400,000 bid, and how they break it up is up to them.
Can I also say something? When I total out the Fisher & Fisher for the landscape material, I actually have done this 3 times now. I come out with $190,784.
That's what I came up with.
Oh,
did they do it wrong? Or
That's
we do it wrong, sorry, excuse me.
That's for the total amount for the plant materials. And
Okay.
then 209,529 for the other materials.
Yeah, I think we got
The other items.
We got 209,
We have 209, 529.
Let's put them in, pardon me. Pardon our interruption, we'll do the numbers real quick.
So, hey guys, real quick, Stu has pointed out all that math has to be submitted to the public record.
That's okay.
I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, we can email.
Fine. No problem?
So here, let's just tally them up, we'll just,
Okay, what would you like?
just these totals right here, these, give you the podium, these 5 line items.
Gabrielle Strand, 120 Ormond. It was mentioned at the very beginning, but I haven't heard any sum about irrigation.
Because there is
What do you want, Tom?
irrigation needed,
This
correct?
plus this plus this.
Yeah.
It's in
7.3.
It's in the, there's an irrigation line item in the bottom,
And that's-
non-landscape.
Is that part of the bid or
It-
part of the
Okay.
non-grant?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
5013,
Yes, by a lot.
101, 89,
Sorry.
08.
29,850,
Our hope for lighting is way separate from this, right?
27,580.
That's a whole separate thing
Right,
that
right.
I think you'll take through with the local agency.
But not nearly this price.
The sum of this.
I can do that. Actually, I don't know if I can, anybody can install it, lighting? Or do you have to, FDOT or no?
Yeah, if they're licensed and insured, sure.
Oh, licensed and insured, no.
Sure enough, we'll copy that value into the other,
Well, I knew the design had to be approved.
over and up, and
The bidders have to meet a certain requirement before they could bid on it and stuff.
What if it's free? Like if I'm doing it?
I'm sure we free before.
You just couldn't bid on it as like Joe Schmo landscape.
You want this
You
placed
have to have
here?
all the requirements.
I mean, I'm just saying if it,
Copy the total.
if somebody's doing it for free, donating, there doesn't need to be a bid, right? Oh, there does? Okay,
We've got to follow all the MOTs and everything,
okay.
and have to do procedures.
So check that against
So here we
Mike's.
go, so that's 62K left. This was 209. Hold on, so we've,
We're removing item 2, right?
Yeah, there's only 2 we got.
of this amount right here,
Yeah. With all the numbers I've worked, I'm still getting the $400,000 to the cheapest one. Leave,
well, we're not leaving until we're done.
yeah, at
It's
least
gotta be decided
like
tonight.
120 if we
Push it
pay
off as
everything,
long
and
as
it includes irrigation left over for other expenses that we want to do out there.
Well, I think it is, I think it is.
Shouldn't we know
I
the
think
amount
it
of
is-
money, though?
I think,
Money?
I think it is the low bidder, because we had a bad input.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So bear with us, because we just have to do this. All right, so we totaled 197,785, right, for the landscaped items, that's what you had?
Yeah, 785, I got 784, I just rounded, I didn't use any cents.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. And then we had 209 for the non-landscape items?
Yeah, 205, 529, that's not, I just rounded the dollar amounts, not,
But I do want to reiterate, it's a lump sum bid, so
No, understand,
You just
understand.
wanna
I just
see-
want to
you just wanna
understand,
see
I want to
for
know, because I think you're right, you're correct,
Okay.
which was to your point, is I don't understand how 500,000 is less than 400,000, and you're correct. So sanity wins the day, which was, so I just want to understand, from a town perspective, if we're under budget, over budget, and I think that, and then we can have the rest.
basically, if we take what we have for the low bid and all the costs and stuff, we'd have 120,000 left for any other expenses,
Right.
the lighting and things.
And irrigation.
And irrigation is part of that already bid, I actually forgot about that.
Cook it,
Yeah,
minus that.
We have to get the water to
yeah,
the irrigation system.
we gotta get the water location, but that,
Deficit, we're actually in positive, because we have 250.
So where does 100,000
Minus that bid.
for the inspector come in?
270 minus.
so.
Do you want to cross
With-
Mike's numbers?
With that, we basically have 623,000. We take the 400,000, I'm just doing round numbers, we come down to 223, and then take $100,000. We have 223 left, and then we take $100,000 off that, leaves us 120, all in with all the expenses that we have listed here. And figure in $100,000 for the inspector.
Our total project cost that we have, what we haven't spent would be,
Would be, let me,
All right, I'm gonna write it out, and then I'm gonna read it out.
okay. I get, let's see. 623. So basically, we have like 223,000 left after we pay the landscaper left, and then we got to pay the $100,000 for the inspector.
So in short, we have enough to cover everything.
Essentially, the message, and in fact, we actually have about 50K more than we need.
I got 120K more.
And despite this academic exercise that we're in the process of doing, the nuts and bolts of it is, our decision is either accept the 400,000 or scrap the whole thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we are clear on the decision now.
But the important part of that is that if it's in budget.
Correct.
It's a totally different conversation than if it's $100,000 over budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, fair,
But
fair.
it's either the 4 or scrap. It's not take the 5.
Correct.
Good.
31K off of that.
The reason I came up with that extra $120,000 is we had that one bid on already, so we knew roughly that would help cover it. That's why I put that extra money in our reserves to cover it in this year's budget.
All right, so we'll enter it into public record, but for the Fisher bid, the total for the landscaping material is $190,785. That would be completely covered by the grant. The $209,529 for the non-landscape materials, 15% of that would be covered by the grant, which is $31,429. So that's less than the 253, so we're not exceeding the grant value.
That's true, we won't get all the, yeah.
Right, right.
Sorry.
And that leaves the total value to the total net to the town due with including the 100, does that include the 100K? That does include the 100K, the 215,885. Or the net positive, probably already has it subtracted out. Yeah, it does, okay. So that leaves the total net to the town of 215,885, which, plus the 100K for the, monitor.
Right.
Which leaves us with a net positive on the budget of approximately $54,000.
Now, there's one other item we haven't included. We have to take out the old. FDOT doesn't pay for that, we do.
I think that's in here.
Is that in the bid?
Removal.
We have to
Removal.
have that's what exists now has to be removed.
The removals are in the bid.
Yeah, it's clearing and
FDOT
grubbing.
required it.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Okay, all right.
We have a 50.
That's the clearing and grubbing line, right? Susan, that's the clearing and grubbing? Okay.
Management reserve. Yeah. Correct.
Great, perfect.
And then the Aurora's would have less than that reserve, so the Fisher is the lowest bid, and it's within budget.
So you're saying how much is left over with Fisher?
54,000.
And Mike, you're saying 120?
I'm saying 120 now, because if you take the 30% of that lower number,
That's not 30, it's 15.
no, I did for 30, you're right, sorry. So that'll cut it in half, so that's like 32,000, so yeah. So we'll be just shy of, right around 50 to 60, right around there.
So some management reserve, which is always good to have in a project of this size, just in case things go bonk.
Yeah. I gotta take my shoes off, all the math is confusing me.
Right.
Carry the toe.
So the two choices are take the 400 or scrap it. But we don't know if we should scrap it because we don't know how much scrapping would cost if we came up with a separate. Is that correct, Susan? Like, I mean, ballpark, you can't ballpark tonight how much a new design would be with just pavers. How long would that take? I mean, obviously, you don't have to come up with a whole design, but, I mean, is that?
I think from
You said
practical
3
purposes,
years.
we don't really have a decision. It's been laid out for us. It's the 4.
It would probably take me 2.5, 3 weeks. Get that for you. 2 weeks at
For another
minimum.
design.
That wouldn't be for a whole design, that would just be for some basic
Just to
math.
run the numbers, yeah. I know this week is
Yeah.
off the books already.
I'll throw a wrench out there too, is we were on a schedule with FDOT as part of this thing.
Yep.
So that's why we had to go to bid when we did in the council meeting, because I forget I don't have it in front of me, but we're supposed to sign a contract,
11/27.
so yeah.
The award date is today. The executed contract is due 11/27. This has all been approved by FDOT. The pre-construction date is December 6th, and the notice to proceed is December 20th. The job would be done, completed by April 10th.
Does that include speed bumps?
No, sir.
Formality, what we're doing,
I
right?
was hoping it did.
We gotta know that it's covered. I mean,
We
until the
do,
math
we
was
do.
run, I didn't believe what the number was. I want to know what the number was, yeah. So April what?
April 10th
Thank you.
is final acceptance date. Substantial completion is March 20th.
It's a good time for planning is why we did that too.
True, yeah, March,
That's good.
uptake, yeah.
So is there
We need a motion here?
motion, what?
Yes.
I'll make a, well, I mean, I will make a motion that we approve the bid for Fisher Landscaping to perform the work as outlined in the Exhibit B fee schedule.
I'll second it.
Any other discussions? Stu, you got anything?
No, I just feel that, I feel it's a poor use of taxpayer money to this extent.
Why is that, Stu?
It's too much money. You're gonna put a few plants in, and yeah, it's a lot of plants, but still a few plants that require a lot of maintenance, which you don't have the staff to do, and you're upwards of $1 million for this project. I think there's alternatives that are probably a whole lot better for the town overall. And one of the problems we have today, just to restate it a little bit, the landscaping that was put in today was done in the late 90s. Now, it hasn't been maintained much in the last few years because we knew we were going to redo it or take it out. But we still have old palm trees, which you can't see unless you're on top of the bridge, by the way, because they're sticks. We knew in 2011 that would happen because it's just the nature of the tree. So nothing, if it were the original design, it was kind of incorporated into that. At this point in time, I think we're just going to be very dissatisfied and then try to explain to the residents of Indian Atlantic, why do we spend that much money on something that's really not sustainable or maintainable? My thoughts.
But that moves, if it doesn't pass, that moves, kicks the can for 3 years probably, and depending on what grant may or may not be available is also. So we're still stuck with this cost of maintaining as is. Joe, correct?
I'm not sure that I agree with that.
Okay, so what's the alternative, Stu, that's more palatable than this?
Well, we're not here to discuss alternatives. First of all, we're going to either pass or not pass this.
Okay, but you're pitching that it's too much money and an alternative is better.
I think there are better alternatives, and it may be something as simple as, if you look at the Piney extension, which is how this all started, by the way, which I'm not necessarily fond of. It was done with pavers and palm trees. Initially, it was very nice. Like everything else, maintenance got the best of it. So assuming we can do something that can be maintained by Public Works, reasonably and safely, I think we're just better off overall. I'd rather do a long-term vision than a short-term, oh, that's pretty. By the way, next year we have to do some improvements. Because you restart the process again.
Susan, I have another question, kind of related to that. You said 3 years. Is that because of grant applications? I mean, it seems like, you could, or somebody, in your profession could take, I don't know, 6 months to do 10 trees and some pavers, and then there's another 6 months for approval, roughly.
I think the 3 years, when we applied for this grant, it was accepted, but then they said the monies wouldn't be available until 2 years later. And so there's that delay of accepting the grant and then waiting for the monies to become available.
Right. But I mean, if we just said, screw the grant, like, it shouldn't take 3 years, right?
Oh, you mean if you were planning to do this without a grant?
Yeah.
It hurt my head. We've spent, by Stu's math, and I don't mean this in a slanderous way, if we spend $1 million, by the time it's all in, that means we're gonna spend 370 minus 50, so 320. So that means we've spent somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 or 700K already. We're gonna, well, you said $1 million.
No, we haven't spent, if we adopt, we'll spend it.
No, we won't. We'll spend 300, less than 350.
Yeah, the total from 2017 forward.
Well, now you're counting, then I have to roll it into the total cost.
No, I
But
don't
any
know
money
where-
we've spent, that money behind us, and if we're gonna restart the project, we're gonna have to respend it.
Is it
I don't see $1 million here.
Well, I'm using,
Yeah, at all, not
Right.
even close, yeah.
For clarification, where is the grant specifically coming from?
FDOT.
Okay, that's what I thought. So it's an FDOT grant, right? Okay, and FDOT is the impetus for this whole project, right? Forced it upon
No,
us, right?
They-
the town
well,
residents wanted to very
The
passionate.
the residents wanted this, and FDOT has a grant program, and that's what.
But this
the-
wasn't related to the Fifth Ave, the 190?
No, it's two different things.
Two different things
Okay, I
altogether.
thought because of the widening we had to deal with.
No,
Okay.
no, this is separate.
Okay, that changes.
Something started in 2017 discussions about.
Right.
So getting back to the original question, if we forego a grant and just pay out of pocket, how long? Roughly? Year?
I don't know how
You
to
still gotta
answer
get
that.
FDOT
I would,
approvals, yeah.
I don't know what FDOT's reaction will be.
I was gonna say,
We
would they-
aren't going to, that you may choose not to take a grant. I have not had that experience with them yet.
And then would they potentially be maybe more difficult to work with? going
could they be
forward
more
with us?
difficult?
Try
I
to propose
think-
something completely different? They wouldn't play nice, maybe?
It's a possibility. They would
Yeah.
put us at the back of the line, and we would have to wait our turn again before we could apply,
I would expect that.
and then wait for those monies to become available. That's my logic there. I mean, I think that's what I would expect them to do, but
Well,
I
beyond the grant, though,
can
I mean, they had
verify.
like certain rules and requirements as far as what we could and could not put in because of sight
Oh, yeah.
lines and all that.
We've been through all that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it just seems like
Yeah.
there could be more.
Well, the FDM will change again because they review it annually. That's the design manual. We'll
Every
have to
6
meet the
months.
current design manual and recognize, and Mike has also stated, I mean, it's been no fun to work with them. Bottom line is they have been very difficult, and I'm not slamming them, but I'm reflecting on the fact there was a lot of back and forth, there were delay on timing, and we were doing a lot of waiting.
And they moved the goalpost.
Well, historically, FDOT has
Right.
a very top-down kind of.
So, the bird in hand at this point, at budget line, from my viewpoint.
And if you do decide not to go forward with the grant, and you decide to go out there and do the pavers and the palms, the pavers are completely out of pocket, as you know.
Yes.
That-
Pavers are more expensive than plants.
Maybe not in the long run, in terms of maintenance, but different look altogether.
Because essentially, yeah, it would cost us more, and it would take a lot longer, and we'd have all the sunk cost.
Correct. And there's.
Public comment?
And there's nothing that we're deciding tonight that can't be undone in 5, 10 years.
Right.
Yeah. Public comment? Anyone? All right. All those in favor of approving the Fisher and Fisher Landscaping Lawn and Service, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
3-2. All right, moving on.
Can we go back?
Yeah.
About 3-2, who were the nays?
Me and Stu.
Mail the spreadsheet too.
Right. Discussion, all right, so this is mine. Discussion of the preliminary RFP for the Boardwalk Project conceptual drawings. It was in the packet. The one change, I think, I read it initially. My dad wrote it, by the way. He has 50 years' experience in this type of work, so he wrote it up. The RFP, I think the distance is wrong. He had it going all the way Wavecrest to A1A. Obviously, that's not the intent, so that would get changed. Mike, he spoke with Paul. Paul had some input on it, is that right? Just some legal.
Yeah, we still have to work a little bit of language out and stuff on it and get it all cleaned up. He's read it on his things.
Okay. You guys have any suggestion? That we're not looking to take any action tonight, just get feedback to put into the RFP, and then next month we'll come back, discuss, and vote to publish it or not.
I have a couple of things I'd like to see added.
Yeah, that's what this is about.
And one would be a requirement that the bid takes into, the RFP takes into consideration the requirements of federal, state, and local zoning and, environmental concerns. As an example, we've got the coastal construction line in the dunes. If we get a beautiful bid, but it doesn't take that into consideration, and DEP says, sorry, can't do that. Kind of limit.
Right.
I'd like to see also, for a second item, I would like to see a timeline estimate. So if we're chosen, let's assume this is a huge project, which it is. Let's assume we want to do it over 5 or 10 years. What are the steps that logically, makes sense.
Well,
So
I
how
don't
big
think
peop-
the scope includes the execution of the project, correct?
Right, this is just, I think, for the conceptual drawings.
Yeah, conceptual drawing, but, a conceptual
Fair enough,
drawing.
fair
of
enough, okay.
This is a phase one,
Within-
this is a phase two, this is a phase X.
For the deliverables of the RFP, though, wouldn't, that period of performance for the RFP wouldn't be over that long.
No, not the RFP. I'm just talking about the design component of it.
Okay.
So let's say we have a budget of X dollars for 1 year. How much of that can we get done? We have an idea of where that checkpoint ends. The next year, we have an idea where that would end. Or if we want to put them together, we know what that would be.
So a schedule of deliverables, yeah.
Well, schedule of deliverable, but also a timing of it. So if we say it's going to go from Mikey Goodwin Park for.
Well, if there's a sequencing as well, like a phasing.
Exactly,
Okay.
a phasing, that's all I'm asking. But it's hard to figure out a phasing afterwards. It's easy to start it with a good design and incorporate it.
Doug, you got anything?
Um,
Or Stu, you were done, right?
Yes.
Okay.
To consider, would we want to, because I don't want us to get into a situation where we get RFP bids back that are, because we have a certain amount of money set aside in the budget for this particular activity, I believe. So we should state how much we're willing to spend in the RFP, because otherwise we're gonna get bids back that could be 2, 3x of that, and it's of no use to us.
I was told the opposite.
I understand that's typically how I work, but I've also had other clients that are friends of ours, mine, that have business where they have a not-to-exceed budget, because they have a tight budget, and they don't want to deal with having
Right.
to get a bunch of RFPs that don't meet, they're all above that, and they're of no value, so. Understand, because then they'll all come in right at that cap, but
Right.
the Wiley ones will come in, a couple thousand under, just
Right.
because they know that'll be a
Lauren?
plus up. Oh, one
sorry.
more thing. We should also be clear on what we're getting as deliverables,
Yes.
so that we understand if they're giving renderings, drawings, so on and so forth, plans, that we get copies of them, such that we're not bound to them going forward, which brings me back to a question about our presentation last month. Is that, in that contract, do we get any deliverables from their Envision casting?
I believe,
Question.
I don't know if it was stated. Mike, do you know? I mean, we own that. I know Giuseppe, he talked about
Yeah.
it being intellectual property.
We paid them for it, so.
Yeah, we should just make sure we get what we're rightfully due in terms of deliverables.
I think you have to have discussion. I also asked Giuseppe to talk directly to that issue, because I took exception. I believe it's a work for hire contract, which is when you make the payment, the intellectual property transfers. He may see it differently. I haven't gotten a response when I asked for clarification on that. I don't think anything should be in there that should be withheld for the town. We paid, it was a work for hire. The deliverables, the concepts are our intellectual property, but you need to work that out with him.
Do you have anything to add for this RFP?
Yes, so I'm going to piggyback on Doug. I thought a lot about this for you, Mark, and I'm going to actually read a few notes, not try to be long, but I spent some time with a project manager who did a lot of work for SeaWorld, large stuff, and I said, hey, educate me a bit when you do these types of things. How does it get through, especially when you need public support? Because at times they were getting public dollars, so it was sort of apples to apples. For Doug's thing, I just want to mention, though, I was going to ask you, not that you have to answer, but what bid dollar amounts are you expecting to come in that are affordable? That's the issue. If you put on an RFP with not to exceed or no budget, which is hard to put because we don't have the concepts, just be aware larger numbers may come in, and that has a public, not that you have to accept it, but that has a public perception. When you have a broad RFP with a lot of things, you're giving a lot of latitude for designs, not just concepts, but maybe drawings, and there's a lot of engineering could happen within your RFP. There are 3 stages to any project. There's concept, design, and implementation, and a common error that destroys a project is mixing phases, omitting a phase, or stakeholders' misunderstanding. In the concept phase, for instance, asking for a lot of design or implementation questions. Now, each phase will come in its turn, and you sort of do the type of thing. The design phase, for instance, is where people who are contrarians, they ask questions. Is this feasible? How do you do it? We've probably all encountered this in one way or another with larger projects. So this is in the early concept phase, and it's barely out of the gate, and we've already encountered strong resistance from a small yet influential set of residents. So in October, most of the arguments I thought against the concept proposal didn't have a lot to do with the proposed concepts themselves, but were still strong opposition. To me, that raised a flag that something else is potentially going on. And I think we didn't do a service by making a clear, compelling explanation for why this project has to move forward at all. I don't think the minds of the public understand the options and why we're even moving this forward. I think there are 4 alternatives you have. One is allowed the boardwalk to continue as is for some number of years. That's an unknown maintenance cycle or maintenance cost, and it's a higher liability risk, hence one of the claims we have here. We know it's deteriorating. We could remove the boardwalk and replace it with a simple substrate, sand, rock, concrete. That's our lowest cost, lowest maintenance, and probably lowest liability, but least attractive. We could replace the boardwalk as is, perhaps in phases all at once. We don't really know even the cost of that. Compared to the last one, which you're pursuing, is enhancing the boardwalk for a better configuration. We don't know the costs related to that. So I think the RFP needs to include careful identification and inclusion of stakeholders. And there's got to be iterative, robust interviews. You got to ask these folks what they want. And it's got to be more than once and not necessarily in a public group setting, because some stakeholders in a public meeting won't necessarily tell you some things that they want to share either privately or concerns that they may not want broadcast. Again, this is coming from someone who has done this, who's smarter than I am on it, and I felt that it was good wisdom. He said this is especially true for a publicly funded project where the guidance process in concept phase is critical, because at the end of the day, what you're really getting is buy-in of something a lot of people want. They have to be nodding their heads saying this really makes sense at this time. So the RFP is probably going to need a greater focus on ensuring that they have a track record of processes, capabilities to, and you put it in there, a robust public engagement process in a small town environment with existing strong, potentially diverse opinions, including opinions that aren't necessarily favorable. I think they need to know, and you don't have to say we're bidding for unfavorable opinions, but they need to be shepherds through a process that's going to have a lot of discussion, and Susan Hall would say a lot of strong or passionate opinions. You heard it on the median. I would expect it here. So I think that we're underestimating the engagement process by having only 2 workshops and some concept variations. And I think that you ought to have multiple rounds of public outreach in it to make the case of the project itself, identify the stakeholders, have some stakeholder interviews, including the one-on-one meetings, and then you're going to have someone who can lead effective negotiation with strong voices opposed to the project and find and build on common ground, and then take that information, and they have a track record of driving it back to the public. So again, you're building to common consensus on a concept. You'll get to the design phase where a lot of numbers and timelines and those things will be challenged appropriately. These concepts, can we do them, how much? And then the implementation phase. So I hope that that helps on there. I think the idea of the civic and public engagement piece is lacking. It sort of goes into the design phases, and I know your dad has good experience on these things, but we're not sort of in front of a business or a board of directors where we sort of have favorable stuff and money already set aside. We're going to have diverse opinions, public funding, and so the concept, and I think having them drive out or educate the public why we're even considering this. I'm not sure folks know that we really need to replace the boardwalk no matter what. Make the case for that, and the cost also for if we just did it as is or alternatives, and then they may say, oh, now I'm open to it because it's not a new project you're just hunting up. I think that's the case, but Mike needs to sort of make that case as the town planner, I believe, and Joe and BSC have looked at these things and said, this is old. I mean, even how it would be constructed would not meet close to standards today, and as it deteriorates, that's a different entry in. And I think that shouldn't fall to you, Mark, or council to guide that process. I wouldn't want to take that on. I'd want to participate in that process, but have someone who's really good at it. So thank you for your patience. Those were the things I was really thinking that could enhance the RFP.
I'll get those in writing.
Yeah, you can, yeah. No, I'm just trying, I didn't write up a bunch of stuff, because if it dies quickly in here, you're like, right? Why do it? We're not interested. So I'm trying to advance the concept, if you'd like, and then put it through whatever you're vetting.
Brett, you got anything?
Lauren says, make sure the company can convince our townspeople that the design is good.
Have discussion. Have discussion, because maybe it isn't.
No, I know.
Yeah.
You know, anything we do, we're gonna get the dissent, but I just concur with Stu that, please, that was my biggest concern at the last meeting, is just put in there to make sure that it's in compliance with applicable code and regulations, because we don't want to get an awesome design and be like, man, we can't do
Right.
75% of it, so.
Right.
That would be my biggest thing, and to reiterate what Doug said about being clear on the deliverables, and if it's a state-based company, I mean, it's common practice that, as Lauren said, that it would be a work for hire, so, but we should make sure that that's explicitly in the contract, so that there's no issue about we actually own the drawings and whatever is produced. Again, I appreciate your leadership on this, Mark.
Sure.
I guess I'd like to add one more thing. And that is in the RFP for the bid, to identify funding sources. So there, as we learned the first time we tried to do this with Mr. Buchanan, there are federal funding sources that we're just not aware of. And they require certain design aspects in order for it to come into play. I have no idea what they are. And I don't think it's fair for any future council to know. We need experts to help guide us. We have established state funding sources, like the FERDAP grants, but the way they're rated, scored, may not be something we understand, and we could design ourselves out of it by accident. These things, you know, they tend to get like, we'll take the first 63 in the scoring, and you don't want to be number 64, you would be number 1 or 2.
I suggest respectfully that's in the design phase, not the conceptual phase, because you've got to get buy-in on what you want to do. You can have an eye towards what.
I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying, I think.
Okay, you can have an eye towards that, but if you're going to dollar drive the project, then realize you're doing concept and design and potentially at the same time.
Right. I said at the first meeting, I'd like to see the Rolls Royce and then figure out the money. If we have to buy a Toyota, then we buy the Toyota.
I guess my only concern is just make sure we know where the funding sources are. Because the worst one is, let's do a bond. That's just not a good one.
Right.
It would be a very long bond and a very expensive
As
project.
I looked at my.
Yeah, I hear you asking for options, Stu, someone who's going to think in the concepts they deliver that there might be, this is a grant probably where we might go, this might have appropriation, this is outside of that, so you're starting to get your buckets. I think that's what you're looking for.
I want to try to figure out if it's a 5-gallon bucket or a 100-gallon bucket.
Yeah, okay, so you're looking at costs out of pocket is what you're driving.
Public comment?
Thank you, Susan.
Take care, Susan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gabrielle Strand, 120 Ormond. I just wanted to verify that we already have some money set aside in the budget for this?
Yes.
Yep.
100,000.
Okay. And the plan is also then to apply for appropriations and/or grants. Is that correct?
The appropriations for this upcoming, I guess it'd be the next fiscal year, we're not going
Yep.
to make that deadline,
Okay.
which is end of January, end of February,
Yes.
which I was hoping after last month, maybe
Mm-hmm.
if this gained traction, we could have done that, but at this point, for this project, we're not going to get appropriations for 2025, or
Okay.
I guess it'd be 2026. If it proceeds, deeper, if we get these conceptual drawings and we continue to move forward, then we can certainly look, that's the plan.
Okay. And I just want to kind of second what our councilman said. We are a passionate town when it comes to Starbucks. Down at the end of the street, whether we did something with 7-Eleven, people take sides, people have strong feelings about things, and part of it is about getting the word out, having information, correct information, and that boardwalk does need to be dealt with. We absolutely need to deal with it one way or the other, and it can't stay the way it is. So I would really hope, whether it's not just workshops, but putting things on the website, having people discuss things, going out and inviting people to council so that they could come and discuss, but also one-on-one. I think it's very important for the success of this project, one way or the other. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. Anyone else? No?
I just thought of one other thing that I think we should probably have in there, and it's a specific design feature for either catching or repelling drunk drivers.
It's already in it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
There was a specific, okay, some sort of contraption.
Yeah, I mean, that's not in the RFP. No, but that was part of the overall.
We can't get to design phase right now.
Yeah.
Right, we're in the concept.
Well, yeah, that's part of the concept,
Okay,
right?
okay.
See what you can,
Yeah, it's a
just like a- just a
concept.
hole, you know?
Mike, did you have anything to add?
No, I think, just knowing with the RFP, we have money set aside for that, but the big expense is gonna be the project.
Right.
Coming, like I said, the 5-gallon or 100-gallon bucket, we can afford, or what kind of appropriations we can get.
Okay. Anything else? Nope, all right. All right, moving on.
Thank you, Drew.
Oh, sure, he likes it. He wants to be on some committee if we ever form one, I think.
Runs in the family.
Joe, discuss the paint colors, Nance Park Bathhouse.
Yes. Mike, can you bring it up, please?
Mr. Mayor, do we still have the light pole banner discussion, or did that?
No, that was pulled.
That was pulled? Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, looking at the bathrooms now, and the orange color is kind of blah. So I came up with some colors, and I got with one of our residents, and I got an input from this resident, and they really like these colors. The only thing that we would change is that the planter be reversed. So what's blue would be white, what's white would be blue, just so they wouldn't mark up.
Right.
That's the only thing that didn't get done correctly. But I think these would be a really good color choice, and I believe, now I know that the Parks Committee did agree on this color.
And SW7006 is one of the 4 lighter shades.
I can't even read that. But
That's
yeah,
that color.
You can read that? Yeah, I know it's Raptor blue and extra white.
Yeah, Raptor blue and extra white.
Yeah.
Rapture
Blue.
Is it
Rapture blue.
Sorry, I thought it was
Even
Raptor.
more fantastic.
See, I need my glasses, I'm sorry.
What goes on in those bathrooms? I don't know.
Discussion, or is there a motion?
I
I
mean,
can't read that.
I'll make a motion to,
Oh.
I don't know if we need a motion or if this is just a discussion. This is just a discussion, right? We don't have to actually approve this.
We don't have to approve it?
No.
Is this on to be brought forward for approval or only discussion?
Just discussion, because we did approve the color.
Well, we need to get approval
Yeah.
with the colors if we're gonna go forward and paint it.
Okay, so a motion
Okay.
needs to be on the floor.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Nance Park Bathhouse paint colors as presented.
I'll second.
But with the inverse on the planner.
Any discussion? Brett, you good?
No, I think that's a good idea, Joe, with on the planner. That was my first thought. I was like, oh man, it's gonna get all scuffed up. But otherwise, yeah, I like it. It looks great. I think you made a good.
beachy.
Yeah, for sure.
Lauren? Doug?
Exudes Coastal Living magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only question would be is this like a color theme that we're going to try to carry through at all with the pavilions or anything else? I'm just curious more than anything else.
No, the pavilion, we're gonna keep the way it is now. I mean, the large pavilion, we're gonna, I think there's talks about getting it redone down the way with the Rotary Club. I believe, no, yeah.
Right up
Anyway,
there.
I'm just
no, we're
curious.
gonna keep Nance Park, the colors that, what are there. And originally, I was gonna bring those colors into the bathroom, but I'm like, no, they're 2 different areas. You got the restrooms, and you got Nance Park.
Okay.
So that's why when I asked this resident and they gave me their input, I took it to heart and I brought it to the playground committee.
Doug, you got any?
No, I'm good with it.
Sue?
It's a significant improvement.
Blue or green, so I'm not a good voter.
It's bluish green.
It looks green to me, so.
Kind of ocean green, blue rather, excuse me.
I know.
Public comment? All right, all those in favor of approving Rapture Blue for the bathroom, say aye.
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 All opposed. All right.
Although Raptor does sound better.
Yeah.
We don't want people getting killed on
I
that.
said, no, people are just gonna go
Thinking it's a
disappearing. now.
dinosaur.
All right.
We know he's a
Last
dinosaur.
item. Discuss Orlando Park half-court renovation options. Joe?
Yes, the price has not changed, going from a pickleball court to what's currently there now is a 40 by 40. We're looking still at $28,000 and change. So we're not saving any money.
And we don't need to know tonight if it's going to be pickleball or basketball, correct?
No, because we're not, I would like to get the courts done, but maybe for next month, definitely for sure, come up with a plan of what we want to do, but, because I would like to get it taken care of.
Right. And so the surface is the same whether it's pickleball or basketball?
No, right now it's a 40 by 40. To be a pickleball court, it needs to be 54 by 30. So we need to know what direction we're going in
Tonight.
in order.
But
well,
there's an additional
I don't need it
cost then
tonight,
to
but
expand.
I
That's
would like
what
to get
it's-
it done.
I thought we discussed too, and this is something was discussed while I was out, but keeping it the same size as that pickleball court in case we ever wanted to change it if it's
And
basketball.
exactly,
So
so,
doing the same size for either one, that's what we need to know.
yeah.
There's a,
No,
there's
So
a-
if you do it for a pickleball court down
Just gotta
future,
expand it.
that's, would be the better way to go, rather than what's there now, 40 by 40.
And what's the pickleball court?
Pickleball is 54 by 30.
No,
Yeah, so, and you still can have a half court on that pickleball court.
Right. It would
So
serve
that
dual
makes the most
purpose.
sense to me to do a 54 by 30
Exactly.
rather
I'll-
than a 40 by 40.
I'll save it for discussion.
All right.
Discussion, right?
No, we
No,
haven't.
we have no motion on the floor.
Is there a motion?
I move to discuss. There we go.
No, well, you got a
It
motion.
can,
to-
it can work
No.
that way. And also,
You gotta-
Robert's Rules of Order are just a suggestion. They're not actually something that have to be hard and fast. So anyways,
Is there a motion from the council?
I move to approve repaving it so that it's the size of a pickleball court and can be used as dual purpose for shooting hoops too.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Discussion.
It's a half-court basketball court, and I would request that Parks and Rec, if we want to resize it as a half-court basketball court, that's fine, I don't have a problem with that, and I'll approve that tonight, whatever dimensions you want. So we'll get past that real quick. Provided it's reasonable and within the budget and so on and so forth. However, my approval of that is not in no way saying that I approve that it's going to be turned into a pickleball court. I have had discussions with residents that are on either side of the discussion. My observations are that the half-court basketball court is utilized on a regular basis by the residents, both old and young. I do not, at this point in time, believe that a shared role is a successful plan. I do understand that, as I've pointed out before, that there are pickleball courts at Indiana, Hoover. Those pickleball courts, as I have been informed, which is a good perspective, are closed between 7:30 and 4:30, that's because the school's there. And there's only one at Rickman, and Flutie's under construction. It'll soon be rectified, but that doesn't leave very many during the course of the day. So what I would like to see, once we get past this approval, is that Parks and Rec would make a recommendation on how they would like to address this in terms of if the town wants to put in a pickleball court, if it's the one in Orlando Park that exists, currently is a half court, that happens to be the right size, or if it's an additional pad that goes in Orlando Park, if it goes somewhere else, or we table it and discuss it for another budget year. And that's my piece, thank you.
I think I'll maybe amend the motion to approve the 54 by 30 tonight and have discussion next month about pickleball or basketball.
It's just repaving it for 50 by 30 is what Joe wants, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Repaving.
Are you accepting the amendment? The motion? And I would prefer you not to limit discussion in your motion.
Well, I was just limiting the discussion to, well, basically, we're not going to decide tonight whether it's going to be basketball or.
But I think from my discussion, I don't need to drive that home, but that would be part of my decision-making I'd like to hear and share, even if it passes on to the next December.
Okay, that's fine.
You can say your opinion, go for it.
No, but there's an amendment to the motion on the floor, so you get to accept or reject it.
You're welcome to do
We are
both.
still under discussion. Okay, you can give your opinion right now, and we can address that proposed amendment. Okay, you're getting too formalistic here. Do you have an opinion about it? Please share that.
I'm aware of your judgment that I'm getting too. Are you aware of that judgment as well?
What's going to go wrong if you say your opinion right now?
Nothing.
Right,
I
so
just want you to
please
be
say your
aware
opinion.
you're telling me what to do, and I don't like it.
Didn't you just tell me what to do? Come on, Lauren, just be reasonable here.
So-
We're talking
So,
about this.
Brett,
We're talking about this, let's talk.
Brett, do you accept you don't have to accept the motion, the amended motion, yes or no? That's for you, Brett. Brett, do you accept the motion, my motion, or do you want to just move forward? I'll withdraw.
Well, yeah, I'm going to reject it for the sheer fact that Lauren won't speak his mind about whether or not it should be a pickleball court unless that is formalistically what is the open motion at this time. So I want that to be the open
Okay.
motion so that Lauren has the freedom to express his point of view.
I'm flexible, more than maybe presented here. I wanted to ask Doug, I talked to some residents too. One of the concerns was the availability. I know other courts exist, but they talked about concerns to actually be able to play reasonably. Did that come into your consideration? They may exist, but the point is they can't play as often. What did you think? And I thought that was a good one for us because availability popped into my mind, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I completely understand that and have been, until the Indy Atlantic courts were remodeled, I've been subjected to the pickleball shuffle, if you'll call it that, going between sites and trying to find open court, or waiting. So I understand that. My primary objection is we don't need to take away an existing feature that's being used. If it was off in the corner, not being used, we want to convert it to something useful, that'd be different discussion. I believe the half-court basketball court is used and is appropriate as it is laid out. So I don't see the reason we need to take that away. There's perhaps an opportunity to identify a way for funding, whether it's through fundraising or other sources, to add to the resources of the town, not just repurpose the existing.
Got it, because that was one of the challenges when I asked, when people are asking, they're like, well, what do you do if if someone's got it for non-pickleball purposes and you sort of want to do it for pickleball, how do we play nice? And that, I think, is sort of what you're getting at. I was also trying to understand for those who are super pickleball advocates, how they do if they've got some half-court basketball games, someone else is waiting on the side for winners, what do you do if someone has the pickleball court? So part of me understands then if the dual purpose may be actually challenging depending on how you want to have people decide what they play on it. So I see the issue, and that's sort of what I wanted to.
Yeah, I don't want to have Lieutenant Weber coming out because we got
Yeah,
friction.
because sometimes you can say this is the asset for this is the asset for that. So, yep, that was, because that matters then if we're not going to, and from the viewpoint, Brett, I'm trying to get my brain around the width of the opinions here, because if we do expand it and there's extra money to expand it and we're not using it as a pickleball court, someone could say, we'll save that money for a different item that's the pickleball court over there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the same dimensions, though. I mean, 40 by 40 is the same as 54 by 30.
Yeah, it's the same square footage roughly. I think it's like
Yeah.
20 square feet
But
shy.
does it change because your footing or padding is different because you're cutting out maybe you're laying something down differently or not? If you took the current one and turned it into a different dimension? Because when I read the agenda, I thought it was a resurfacing, so I'm like, oh, they're going to have to add a certain amount on because you're going to take out that grass area and put down some sort of substrate or something. So I'm thinking additional cost. Am I missing? Maybe I'm wrong?
No, there wouldn't be an additional cost to that. I mean, sod is not very much. If you had to add to fill in 10 square feet, or not 10 square feet, 10 feet by 40 feet, 400 square feet, you're not looking at about $165 for sod. So no, it's not really that much of a difference to go from 40 by 40 to a 54 by 30.
And even if we kept it 40 by 40, we're not simply resurfacing. You're going to dig up, or they're going
Yeah, it has to be
Okay.
dug up and replaced.
So
It's
whatever it
too broken
is.
up what's there now, so we have to replace that.
So
Well, that's
So,
what I was trying to
yeah.
figure out, based on the usage,
Yeah,
what it was, and if it's a net zero, I don't really have a beef with it at all, then we talk usage next month. That's why I was trying to understand.
So,
no, absolutely.
quick question. Probably never been asked in council before. What's the width of a basketball court? Is it 39 feet?
I'm not sure. I know that our half courts are 40 by 40.
Yeah, I
And
know,
I
but we're
don't know
going
what
to
our-
39, what, 30, we said 39?
A full court is not
50 feet
a
wide?
true full court.
I know, yeah, I'm quite, yeah.
50 by 42.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking if we shrink the width of the court, does that make the half court not playable? For whatever work that is, it's more, I understand that's in the minutia, but most people that play there are playing pickup with their kids, so it's, or horse shot, or doing horse, or practicing just free throws. Yeah.
You know, in an ideal world, I'd like to see us have both. However, you know, the places you could put an additional basketball court are in the enterprise zone, whole different funding issue.
Right.
And today, that particular facility is used primarily as a basketball and has been for as long as I've lived in the town. Almost any weekend or any evening, you'll find somebody shooting hoops there. I don't want to take that away by any means. If we can effectively dual use it, all the better.
So to answer your question on a half court, it's 47 feet long by 50 foot wide. We're not even there yet.
Okay, I mean, it would go from 40 feet wide to 39 feet wide, is what okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, to me, it's a very clear answer. I think we're trying to create some issues out of nothing. We know that it needs to be replaced. We're just talking about changing the dimensions. There's no official dimensions for shooting hoops randomly on some half, slab of concrete. To the extent that that secondary, the half basketball court is used, it's negligible compared to the actual full court. It's usually like an overflow, like somebody's waiting to play, pickup. So I just think, it makes complete sense to just offer an additional amenity to our residents. Especially a convenient one in town, in our neighborhood. That's like our neighborhood park. So it really is like residents, it serves residents. To the extent that some people are concerned that there will be, people from other towns coming to use the pickleball court because of the amount of limited facilities, and that it might cause noise disturbances, or that there might be, disagreements between people trying to use the pickleball or someone trying to shoot hoops. I don't think that those are actually going to be legitimate problems or materialize into anything. And I say this from experience because I drive just to get to my house. I pass Orlando Park a minimum of twice a day, just about every day of the week. And during the summer times, the basketball court, the main basketball court, is used on a regular basis when all the kids come home from college. And there are times where there's upwards of 15 people there, 5 on 5, and then another group waiting to get in to get winter. And as far as I know, and certainly our police officers will be able to let us know better, but I'm not aware of any like legitimate serious disturbances or fights or issues or concerns. Just walking the neighborhood, it's certain, it's not even a noise issue. So I think, pickleball is going to be far less than the basketball court at its height. And again, it's just additional service that's being offered or additional amenity that's being offered because we're not going to be doing away with the basketball hoop. And so it's just a first come, first served basis. I feel that our townspeople, can handle that reasonably and appropriately. And if someone else is there, playing basketball and they were there first, well, the pickleballers, rightfully have to be patient, and that's just the way it is. And frankly, I don't even know if we really need lines drawn for the basketball. But even if we did, you can easily have them over, you know what I mean? Like, Melbourne Beach did that. I'm granted it's tennis and pickleball, but still, you just have different colors and overlapping lines. So it's easy to accommodate. And if the cost is going to be the same, I just think, a lot of people would appreciate it and enjoy it. And frankly, I'm not even a pickleballer, so I fall on the tennis side of the line. But I just know that a lot of people would enjoy it. And for those that are concerned, I don't think it's going to be a real problem.
Public comment? All right, so the motion was to approve, what was your motion?
Well, so now I'm going to amend the motion. I just did that so that Lauren felt free to speak. That's what was just giving me a hard time. That we don't make that decision. We just make the decision to repave to the 50 by 30.
Okay.
30, or whatever it is.
Right now it's 40 by 40.
Right, so it would be 50 by 30.
54 by 30.
54 by 30, excuse me.
No, it's 54 by 30, yeah.
So is there a second?
Whoa, we're going to narrow by 10 feet now.
Is there a second?
Here's a good clarification. We're not going to make the decision whether it should be made for pickleball, but the motion is to repave it so that it fits within the pickleball
Yeah.
size.
Exactly, Brett. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yep, there you go.
Clarifying.
Joe? Yes. It sounded like you're actually making it narrower, 54 by 30.
Longer and narrower, correct.
Okay, so what happens to that extra 10 feet there? Okay. All right.
Mulch.
How about this, how about we make it 54 by 40? I think my contractor can swing this numbers.
That's what I was really
To me,
prefer.
I would,
My man will get it 54 by 40.
sounds like a good deal.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the motion is, disregard everything else that was said, when we do the repaving, which has to be done anyways, that it be 54 by 40.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Public discussion, comment. All right, all those in favor of approving 54 by 30, or 54 by 40 for the Orlando Park half-court renovation, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Unanimous. All right. Town attorney is not here for administrative reports. Town manager, what you got, Mike?
I have two things real quick. One is let you know that I put it on Nextdoor earlier today. I notified Waste Management that the county's finished their pickup through Indy Atlantic for the storm debris. So next week, we should be going back to normal service, and it is posted on Nextdoor. And I'll put it in my Friday memo, too. So, and the other thing is, I know you guys have seen some emails, and I had some discussion with you on the Parks and Rec Committee about this going back and forth about their money and, stuff like that. They're an advisory board, and we ask them to do things, and we bring it to council. And, normally, like last year, they made, we figure they're gonna bring in $7,500 in profits. The money we put into the budget for it, they have to buy profits. And I just saw an email a little bit ago where they think that money was going forward. They, every year, say, hey, like a couple years ago, we did boardwalk stuff. They wanted to go into the boardwalk for some maintenance in the boardwalk, or they wanted to go here. So I don't understand where they think this money just rolls forward and stuff, because it's allocated every year to something, or it's in a special parks project. So I just want to make y'all aware of that, because I just saw that email. I'm like, where the confusion's come over the park and rec,
I think some of it was like with lights last year, if I remember correctly. Last year, they said the Which Way 5K money can go to the lights.
correct.
And so the question is, did that money, because we didn't do lights last year, as you know, has that money been carried forward?
Yeah, that money was carried forward into there.
Okay, so,
But it's not like, because the money gets spent every year, right? Normally, unless they come up with special, we have it allocated for special parks projects. It's usually between $5,900 and $7,500 a year.
right.
They're not gonna-
That's their working budget, Mike, compared to what I think Mark's getting at, is something was earmarked specifically.
Right.
Yeah, we moved it forward with them knowing that.
Can I, because I think there's just some general, foundational confusion here, so I think we kind of need to back up a little bit. Parks and Rec is an advisory committee, so they do not actually have a specific budget, right? Like, they have discretion over, and they get to, say what happens with the funds, right? So when they have a fundraising event, or any committee or any group has a fundraising event for the town, if they go in the black on that fundraising event, right, they make more than the cost of it, then those funds actually go to the town's general fund, right? So it goes in the kitty. So there's this huge pool, right? And then every year, you know, we have our budget workshop meetings, right, that start July, August, and we vote on the budget in September. It's during that process when we make the allocations of what went into the kitty for that full year of where that money's going. In that process, there is a Parks and Rec, you know, section and line items. And Mike and, you know, the rest of our staff, Joe, everybody, you know, they make estimates, right, for based on what they think expenditures are gonna be, and so they get allocated a certain amount of money, right? But it's not, and so this, and to the extent that they make additional funds from these fundraising projects, you know, the town has said, yes, at times, we're gonna earmark it, right, for these other Parks and Recs efforts or projects, and so they can have a say, but it's not, like from actual procedural formalistic standpoint, it's not like, okay, now those funds that they made are specifically being held here over to the side for them to determine what to do with whenever they want and how they want. It's no, you have been given a set budget, you know, that we approve in October. This is the budget you have to work with. The additional funds, you know, if there is a surplus from that, right? I mean, technically, it's going into the general fund. We do, you know, informally earmark it for park projects, but you know, it's just all part of the traditional budgetary process. I think people kind of lost like sight of that's how it works. So it's like if they really, really want to have like a serious hardcore say, well, then show up to all the budget meetings and all that type of stuff. I think there's some confusion about the fact, I think it's also because of the fact that the fiscal year starts in October and then ends in September, and then Which Way 5K is immediately in October. So then there's these, if they make extra funds, they're like, but it was already like estimated what those were gonna be, right? And we line itemed it in the budget. Am I correct in saying that? I mean, you've been on this forever, Stu, and
That's basically correct. And like
Yeah.
I said, we move, that's what we did on a fund balance forward. We moved 50,000 for the lights.
Okay.
And that was part of their money. But it's not like every year, because they spend the money every year on different things or special parks projects unless they ask us to do something
Right.
with
I
it.
think that was where some of the confusion, because when we were texting last week, I was asking about the lighting money, and you said, no, we were waiting, we already budget, or we were accounting for that in the budget.
Oh, yeah, my confusion. I was talking about this year.
Okay.
What they're going to do with it.
So this year's Which Way 5K is unallocated per,
Well, it's in special parks project. If we can move it from there, we put it in special parks project. That's what I found out in an email. And like I said, we don't know the number, and I don't want to give them a number because I got yesterday, I got a bill in and a deposit. So we don't know the numbers usually until about the first of the year we get the true numbers.
And I just want to clarify your statement there, because I think it leads to confusion to some of the parks people. It's, you have no issue giving them a number of, as far as what they made. You're just not prepared to do it right now because there's been a history of costs associated to the Which Way 5K trickling in months later. So even all the way, say, up to December. And so Mike doesn't want to be put in a position where he gives out a number based upon what he thinks are the final costs and revenue. You know, he already probably knows the revenue, but then there's these additional ones that trickle in, and, oh, hey, look, you told us this number, that was false. He wasn't trying to intentionally do that, so no issue giving a number, but once we know the full costs. But then here's the point is they already estimated what we made when we did our budget for this coming year, right? So we're already in the new fiscal year. I think that throws everybody off, thinking it's going to start in January, right? So we are in the beginning right now of a new fiscal year. So the money that they made in October was estimated when we approved that budget. So it's already line itemed in the budget.
Well, except items like the Which Way 5K, we just put a ballpark number in,
That's what I'm saying.
a starter number. if you
Right.
will. We know it's not accurate.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's estimated and it's line itemed in there. So maybe they get that $1,000 extra. Maybe it turned out we estimated too high and it's $1,000 less.
I think the
But it's already
question,
allocated in the budget for the year.
I think the question that was asked was what was the carryover amount from the last fiscal year? And that was the question that was asked in the email, was what was the carryover amount from last year that was not spent, that was earmarked towards lights, that was not spent, and therefore should be carried over. Otherwise, let's carry on with the meeting.
that's 15,000.
We have 50,000. They only gave like 5,900.
Oh, okay.
There's not a
All right.
carryover. It's in the kitty. It's in the general kitty.
Did you have anything else to add?
Nah, I just wanted,
Okay. Stu? Anything?
I just want to thank everybody. It's been, this is my last meeting,
Oh, jeez.
and it's been 14 years. I appreciate all the support of the town, of the staff, and of residents.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hey, Stu.
Thank you, Stu. Good job,
All right, Doug, you got anything?
Don't know how I can top that, other than not to continue on the topic of lights, but just, Mike, we are planning to put lights and some decorations in Douglas Park at the,
yep, Joe's already taken care and ordered some of them.
awesome.
Yes, we've already ordered the lights for it. It's not going to be like a holiday sign like Happy Holidays or Joy, but we're going to have some lights on it.
Thank you. Very much look forward to that.
Laura? Oh, sorry.
And then again, thank you, Pam, and the Indiana Garden Club by the Sea for a wonderful Veterans Day celebration again, and Joe as well, and the police department.
She does well. I love Pam.
Lauren?
Stu, I want to thank you. You've been an inspiration to me, and your service, I know, goes well beyond what we see in council meetings. Your leadership at League of Cities, the way that people respect and think of you and interact with you, what you've done for a whole range of committees. I mean, you can list all of them that I probably don't know of. Your service is exemplary. I'd hope that other people carry on in this tradition. You're also a champion of our hometown rule, right? Home rule, which is allowing us to make decisions locally. We realize we work with county, we work with state, but we need to preserve what we do because we're a town, so we can make decisions for the betterment of our lives. I thank you for championing that. I'm sure there are many ways that I and everyone in this room benefits that has come from that we don't even necessarily see. And thank you personally for the example you set. It's been wonderful. Over the years, participating has become a lot. You and Dick Dunn and others have set an incredible example. So I just want you to know personally and as a council member, I am very appreciative of all that you have done. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much. I also want to thank, this is my last meeting, and it's going to be nice to move into a different season of service to the town. It's a never-ending, from my viewpoint. I learned from my family that you always invest in the communities where you're placed, and that includes the town. I thank staff very much. I thank every one of you for interacting with me, educating, answering questions. Mike, thanks for meetings where we're going back and forth on things. Molly, I want to say to you that I really appreciate your can-do attitude and your commitment to innovation. You're one of the easiest people, and this isn't putting anyone down, but I'm just saying specifically to you that working with you and improving things, you do things incredibly well. You adapt, you come up with ideas, and it's a very easy back and forth. I find your leadership to be exceptional. And I want to thank most of all for the mentorship that Paul, he's not here. Paul, I think, spent the most time helping me understand, because you don't get training up here, it's a trial by fire. Everyone has their jobs, we have a small staff, so it's beautiful when he would sit down at Starbucks, lots of time unpaid, where I'd ask questions, and he just helped me understand. So I really want to say, and that goes for a lot of other staff, for Chief, for Joe, for lots of others. I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I am appreciative of that. And most of all, I'm appreciative to the residents who gave me the chance to serve and supported and gave feedback. And I'm really impressed by those who continue to civically participate, because that is the essence of our country. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. Brett?
Try to be short. I'm bummed both of you, are stepping down. It was an honor to serve with both of you. Stu, I greatly appreciate everything since I moved back to the town in 2018. Started, as I called myself, the sixth man for 5 years in the crowd there. You got me involved with the Florida League of Cities. You've always looked out. I guess it's kind of beneficial because I see the world, I think, in a lot of the ways that you see the world, and I find you to be very reasonable and extremely knowledgeable. And I'm certainly going to miss having you, you know, on council, and hope you're still around to help guide us. And Lauren, you know, I'm again, you know how I feel. I'm bummed that you're not going to continue serving. I'm a better councilman because of how thorough and detailed, and how you have no hesitation to ask the hard questions. And hopefully Doug will continue that, because I might be too friendly for that. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean,
I love you,
but what I really look forward to is being able to talk to you all outside of here and getting your thoughts and opinions, because again, that will hopefully make me be able to serve the townspeople better. So thank you both, and I'll see you around town.
Ditto. Meeting adjourned.